Hi, Jewish Mom. First of all, I wanted to make an announcement that this Tuesday I'm actually leaving for my parents' house in Baltimore, and then I'm going to be visiting my husband's family in Canada. So I'm not going to be around for the next 3 weeks, which means that while I'm going to be blogging from abroad, from North America, I think I'm not going to have a way to make these pep talks. So I think the next pep talk you're going to get from me is going to be at the end of July, Bezrat Hashem. Sorry about that. I'm going to miss you guys. So I want to talk today. I want to talk a bit about one of the things that I'm admiring the most, sort of watching it from afar, the mothers of the kidnapped boys. Something that I think that most blows me away about them is that I think that watching. So I posted last week Racheli Frankel giving a talk in the UN, and a week or two before, Racheli was just like a regular mother of 7 kids, rushing back and forth like she was, like spending her days teaching Torah. And I remember her telling a story. We every year at Nishmat, where my husband teaches with Racheli, then they have a panel. They have like a motherhood balance between career and motherhood panel. And every year I speak. I'm one of the panelists, and last year Racheli was on the panel. I remember her telling the story about rushing home like at 3:30, rushing at 3:30 to pick up her kids from nursery school. So she was just like, up until so recently, Racheli was just a regular mother, raising her kids and teaching, and then all of a sudden, from one day to the next, Racheli is, speaking to all these people, speaking to like an international audience, and being interviewed by journalists. I know, like one day, just because I wrote an article about her, so I got an email from the Associated Press asking how to get in touch with her. I got an email from the Wall Street Journal asking how they could possibly interview her, and so, which is only just like a little bit of like the exposure all of a sudden this family has been getting, and just all of a sudden, like just such an abrupt transition from like a regular life. And I think for me, like in my mind, sort of like the pinnacle of all this is to see Racheli, who was teaching, however, like maybe 2 weeks before, was teaching a halacha class at Nishmat, and then she's speaking at the United Nations. She's speaking in front of the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations, and so I think what really, really blows me away is just to see this woman, and to see like her 2 unfortunate colleagues in this whole nisayon. To see them together, to see all 3 of them together, these mothers, and just all of a sudden transformed into like these people who must, for their sons' sake, for the sake of their sons' well-being and lives, they have to now travel around the world and speak with journalists and take this whole new activist, proactive public role. And I just see them just saying, okay, Hashem, this is the situation you gave us. Hashem, I know that you love. Hashem, I know that you love us. I know that you love the Jewish people. That you love me. You love my family. What is my next step to serve you? What do you want from me next? And so you might be thinking, well, okay, like this is a terrible situation, but what choice do they have? What choice do they have? Well, of course they're going to speak with journalists, and of course they're going to be, of course they're going to be, traveling to the UN or whatever. But they really actually do have a choice, because I think that I can very easily imagine. In fact, I've seen parents whose kids have been in very, very unfortunate situations. For example, being kidnapped or hostages, and it would be very, very easy for a parent to get into blame mode, to just be saying, okay, like, why did the police do this, and why doesn't the army do this, and why did the prime minister do this, and why did the ministers do this, and why doesn't and being angry at everyone and blaming everyone. But it's so incredible to see these mothers, what a Kiddush Hashem, what a walking Kiddush Hashem each and every one of them is. And just to see them, the mothers and the fathers, just because I'm a mother, I'm talking about the mothers, to see them just saying, okay, this is the situation, Hashem. I don't know why this is happening, and I don't know why this is happening, and I know, but I believe Hashem. I believe that everything is from you, and what is my next step in Avodat Hashem? My next step in Avodat Hashem, my next step in serving you, Hashem, is to get people to daven. Okay, and they've been putting a lot of emphasis on that, to get people to do good deeds. They've been putting a lot of emphasis on that, to say thank you to all for all the amazing work of the IDF, which is working night and day to bring the boys back. To thank everyone involved, to thank the people in the government, to thank the Prime Minister, to always see things with an ayin tovah, to like see things with a positive eye, and when need be, to go to the UN and speak at the UN, do what they have to do, but always saying, okay, Hashem, what do you want from me now? What do you want from me now? What is the next positive step I can make, as opposed to just complaining and being angry? Which, you can't blame people who get into that mode. Of course you're furious and upset and da-da. But to see these women just always saying, what is the next positive step I can take in Avodat Hashem? I find it just mind-blowing to see them. I just have to say, I just really feel like I feel like seeing these three mothers, and seeing before that, Lahavdil, seeing Michal Gross, and seeing just women going through nisyonot, going through challenges, just such extreme challenges, and going through it with so much faith, and so much love for the Jewish people, and so much gratitude, and so much, I believe, I have a hard time thinking that I think that many people are going to become religious as a result of just seeing these people, of just seeing the kinds of people, the kind of incredible people the religious community is made up of. It's just awe-inspiring. So I just wanted to say, on Shabbat I was thinking about the three mothers. I read an article in Bina which reminded me of them. It's a very different story, but I just talk about this a person who just, when tragedy strikes, just saying, okay, what is my next step in serving Hashem? So it was an article. One second. It was an article called "Layers of Love." I think it was written as told to Yael Stoltz with Chani Rosenberg. I think maybe Chani Rosenberg is the mother's name. So this mother, basically it's the story of this mother and her her husband for many years was a rabbi working in Jewish outreach with students in a small community, and so he was, and so basically her house, this woman was talking about, her house was always, it was sort of like a, always open, and they always had tons of guests and people coming by for advice, and she had a large family, and then, as she got older, her grandchildren would come, to visit a lot with her married children, and she was working part-time, and again, it was still, they had many guests, and it was this very, dynamic, guest-filled, family-filled, grandchildren-filled home. From one moment to the next, her father was crossing a street in Brooklyn and was hit by a car, her elderly father. So the father, from one moment to the next, he suffered from a traumatic brain injury, and her mother was very elderly, was unable to take care of him on her own. So, but almost I think for a year he was in and out of hospitals. But at the end of that time, they needed a place for him. It wasn't they could no longer stay in their house on their own. They weren't able to take care of themselves. So the siblings got together, and this daughter decided, okay, the parents are moving in with me. This is going to become, I'm going to take this on. So from being a woman with this very dynamic, house with full of guests and college students and Jewish outreach and a million Shabbat guests and whatever, to go from that to being basically a nursing home. Her home for the last few years has been basically a nursing home, and everything is around helping the father and treating the father, and now the occupational therapist is coming, and now this kind of therapist is coming, and now we have to give him dinner. Did he eat the dinner? Did he like what we gave him? And taking care of her mother, who's, it's not easy seeing, your spouse of many decades, in this situation. And how the mother just from one moment to the next, said, okay, Hashem, this is the situation, a tragedy has happened, what do you want from me now? I just find it really, really profoundly inspiring to see a woman who doesn't go into like a blame game. Like, like you can imagine just like a woman that she could let her whole life be taken up with anger and blame and saying, okay, well, who is this person who hit my father? Should I sue them? Should I sue the hospital? Maybe the hospital did something wrong. Maybe the driver did do something wrong. But you could get totally worked up and like what went wrong and what went wrong and what went wrong, as opposed to, okay, Hashem, this is what happened. What do you want from me now? What do you want from me now? What is my next step in serving you in this terrible situation? Okay? So I just wanted to talk about this in terms of just daily, like every day in our lives. There's so many situations in which small, and sort of like on a microscopic level, in which it's so important for us to learn how to apply this on a microscopic level in our lives, and I hope that none of us will be experiencing like big time trauma and tragedy and these big experiences, but I think that we can learn so much just from how they handle big time life changes as a so in order, I'm hoping it will give me some more grace and ease at accepting when there's a change of plans in my life and in our lives. I think it's one of the most important skills for Jewish moms. So I just want to give you like a few examples. So let's say that you're on your way to a wedding, okay, and all of a sudden your baby throws up. Your babysitter just came and the baby threw up. And then you feel, the baby has a fever and it's throwing up. You can't go. And you can be like, why? It's not fair. And no. Right now, what is my next step in serving Hashem? My next step in serving Hashem is not to go to that wedding. My next step in serving Hashem is to be here with this baby who's really going to be needing his mother right now. Okay? Just like an example. Another example. Let's say that you made some big plans. You were going to like do something that you really want to do. Okay? Or let's say even like that you were planning to like cook this morning or clean something up this morning or run some errands this morning. Okay? And then you wake up in the morning and you see like you're just not feeling well. You're under the weather. So change of plans. Like you could push yourself, but then like sort of think it through. Like if you push yourself, then you'll make yourself sick and sicker and possibly really sick. What your family needs and what you need more than anything is you need like a healthy mother. So right then, what's your next step in Avodat Hashem? Your next step in serving Hashem is to say, okay, now I am lying down in bed. I'm lying down in bed for the next few hours, and whatever I had planned is not happening. The third thing, I just want to give a small example from my own life. Last night it was 12:20. I was really tired, and which is like it's about an hour past my bedtime nowadays. And my husband had some things he wanted to talk about. So on the tip of my tongue, I was going to say, I'm really tired, got to go to bed. But I thought, no, what is my top priority? My top priority is my husband. Like that's my top priority, my marriage, my husband. Like that at least it should be my top priority, right? So I was like, okay, this is important. And anyway, like I always loved hanging out with my husband. I would usually prefer it to be at an earlier hour, but so for the next like 20 minutes, half an hour, we hung out, and it meant that I woke up this morning exhausted. But so it meant like the kids, I went back, like after I sent my bigger kids off, I lay down for 20 minutes before I tried to get my younger set off to gun, and it was okay. It was really okay. I felt like just at that moment with my husband, I said, okay, what is my next step in serving Hashem? My next step in serving Hashem is taking the step that's going to be the best thing for my marriage, which meant getting a bit less sleep. Okay, so I just want to bless all of us, that looking at these mothers, going through this terrible experience. It's just awe-inspiring to see how they are just constantly saying, what is the next positive step in Avodat Hashem that I can take? And I think that for us on a microscopic level, I think it's just such an important lesson for us to see that and to internalize it in our everyday lives as mothers, because it's such a constant challenge. It's such a constant challenge when like our routine or our plans are interrupted or changed by some sort of external circumstance or person, to say, okay, Hashem, what is the best way I can serve you right now? I want to bless all of you Jewish moms with an amazing week, with a Chodesh Tov, and I guess with an amazing month. I'm probably going to be in touch with you in a few weeks from now. Okay, call to